So, Dynamite was watchable. That I can sum it up to. They finished it over, like, I think, like a 10:05, and then they think that the rest of the show is such honest greatness that they had to recap literally moments of the main event match while the main event was still going in the second half and back inside the ring after taking a time outside the ring backstage for fight segments. So, what happened? Jericho got pregnant. So congratulations to Chris Jericho. We also had Darby Allin defend his TNT title against Joey Janela. Why is Joey Janela out of like the top 5 getting title shots? Like Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, or guys that are actually top tier singles competitors getting more championship opportunities than just some fat jobbers. The match was okay. I mean, the best thing was a super top rope code red from Darby Allin. Counters over super kicks, a pile driver for a near fall. It ends with the coffin drop. It's just subjugated like a lot of garbage that I hate about AEW. That they think it's convoluted spot over convoluted spot that will make up most of the match. To think that that's not going to keep the contents of having a hype match. The same complaint's going to happen until later on when I talk about the rest of the matches in the show. This was an okay match. But by God, they gotta stop doing this. Next thing was Lee Johnson and Cody Rhodes face off against Peter Avalon and Cesar Bonani. Cesar Bonani looks like a wrestler. I don't know if this is a legitimate tag team that you consistently see on Dark. Other than that, the match was serviceable. Got to see good stuff. Cody Cutter. We know that if Cody wins any match, he's gonna be winning back the TNT title, then jobbing out all of these jobbers because he just has no contents to actually sign legitimate star power, or at least have the reputation of actually making a show want to expand through near a million and actually get to that spot consistently to actually make his show watchable. So, Banani was actually doing some cool powerhouse moves. Cody was on the contents of nearly winning. And then later on, Lee Johnson gets to pick up the cover off, avoiding a top rope Peter Avalon finisher for a roll up. So it comes off of the Nightmare Family winning. Yes, Lee Johnson's part of the Nightmare Family for some apparent reason. Just one of those guys that you technically think are part of the official roster because so many times you see him job out to many guys. Then he finally picks up a win. It's like, oh, now we have to sign this dude. Just like, I don't know, Peter Avalon. Or Austin Gunn. Well, we know why he's in the company other than him just being a jobber. Because Billy Gunn is his dad. So that's technically the reason. I'm just seeing all these random signees of guys that, you can make in a developmental plan. Or at least put them over in the B show. And make storylines about that so we can get more used to the dude. So you have a reason to watch Dark, and you're short and freaking Dark because no one's going to see 10 matches. And actually make something of use of these guys. Like, we already have so many official dudes over in the roster. It makes no sense. We also have Pac versus Ryan Namath, or Dolph Ziggler's brother. So that's all I can tell you. Decent selling. Hurricane Rana's top rope. He kept targeting his midsection outside. It ends off the Black Arrow. I don't think I saw much offense off Ryan Namath. Don't even know why he would subjugate himself into a squash match after the last few months of feuding with Eddie Kingston. All because he took his luchador friends away from him. AEW just wants to make sure they have no storylines. And even if they focus on it, they'll be like, "Oh my God, this is so amazing! Look at the passion! This is personal. No contents of personal storylining or anything." We also had a segment involving the Young Bucks confronting over the Good Brothers over interfering in their Battle Royal match last week over trying to get one half of, I think, the Acclaimed out of the ring, trying to help out so they can have their tag title match, but they plan for it next week. So the point of them even joining in to just predictably even try to challenge the Good Brothers automatically, even though you could just pick your opponent off the spot, made no sense in why they were just involved just to have some spots in the match. Luckily enough, I'm not getting any spot monkey matches tonight. Last night. So there's a positive. We also had. They kept talking about the Hung Bucks, like all this gay garbage. I'm sorry, I apologize. You don't call your friends Hung Bucks. You just suck. I don't even know why Anderson and Gallows keep showing off. You keep doing these invasion angles. They're not technical invasion angles, and if they're just to subjugate beef fodder for Bullet Club garbage that nobody knows, because the Bullet Club is so inside, doing the click sign is so inside, and if outside fans try to watch it, they'll be like, oh, so these guys are Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. No, these are the type of guys that get rejected off these type of dudes because they don't draw. And, like, you can say whatever you want about Kevin Nash, Shawn Michaels, or Scott Hall, freaking Six-Pac. At least these guys were in the boom period of professional wrestling itself, had their own backstage notoriety, and even though they were notable for killing kayfabe over that standpoint, they were still able to pick themselves back up and make professional wrestling mainstream in both WCW and WWE. I'm not getting that off the Bullet Club. I don't care that they do the click sign. I don't even know how they even thought to originate that type of garbage unless they were just playing the WWE 2K games, pretending that they were DX and NWO, and just had less the charisma, personality, cool factor, and mainstream crossover ability. They suck. Get them out of my damn sight. You don't have to pretend to make the Bullet Club to actually make the show watchable, because barely anybody knows what that is to begin with. We also had a backstage segment involving Sammy Guevara and MJF over the trust factor of MJF trying to take the inner circle for himself. You know, something like this. I understand you want to get in leaders' good side, but I don't really care. He's trying to break up like the technical number 2, the inner circle. So I guess that's decent stuff to focus on. That they actually have a faction focus. The only thing is they don't revolve primarily over the show that much, so it doesn't feel that much of a focus. Have more segments. Have like interview Sammy Guevara, his reasons or anything, why he can't now challenge MJF one-on-one after finally breaking up from the group. All this garbage that could be like weekly storytelling is pushed down the window. Maybe this could be a sign that Jericho, how they cut ties with Sammy Guevara, Jericho could cut weight loss, cut some fat for his weight loss. That's all I can say there, bro. It ends with him getting punched in the ribs so hard that somehow that became a primordial factor when they were facing off the Acclaim in a tag team match. The only spot that was high flying was just a suicide dive. The rest was just abdominal stretches, hip tosses, trying to focus over an MJF's rib, trying to cut down the tag. And I like the Acclaimed, but they need to be beating baby faces. They need to be talking trash, setting that up so they can actually gain over reputation. I understand it's the semblance of getting baby faces over, but you need to make sure there's something to overcome, and that's actually getting heels a more reason to beat them. And I think the Acclaimed are good at rapping, can talk, look like wrestlers, have a bit of charisma, and do some vignettes for big matches, so they can make diss tracks, have decent promos. I think this is stuff that AEW has on their plate, but they'll give camera time to Miro trying to sexually assault the best friends, and of course whatever squabbles Kenny Omega still thinks that he's a main event level player for some apparent reason, all because he had good matches on New Japan that on Access Television racks up as less ratings as Teen Titans Go. So That's practically most of the semblance of, mainstream credibility that Kenny Omega has. Because you can be like, oh, Chris Jericho. Okay, people know who Chris Jericho is. So that's our world champion. Okay. John Moxley. Oh, I remember him from the Shield. Kenny Omega. I think he just wrestled a 9-year-old. Stick his finger up his ass and then had some matches in Japan that probably no one ever watched. Like the most people ever talked about New Japan Pro Wrestling when Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle were there, and TNA had a partnership with them. No one ever talked about the G1 climaxes. Stop giving me this garbage over with New Japan being like the biggest alternative. Their U.S. tours flop. Their Madison Square Garden events with Ring of Honor flop. They can't rack up that much of a casual viewership because probably nobody knows who they are, how to watch them, and they don't have enough star power to subjugate, interesting viewership. And their roster's not that big enough or cool enough to actually have outside viewers watching their garbage. They are just absolute trash to watch. Sorry, man. I try to watch over New Japan Power because there was a time when I was a bit of a smark, but by God, I can just understand like why am I watching this weeaboo crap? They'll be like over the middle of a hype promo. Will I win the match? Oh my remote shindig. Oh God. We also had our women's tournament. Whoever wins gets a title shot against Hikaru Shida. Thunder Rosa said she has three things to do, and that's trying to regain her NWA Women's Championship, win the tournament, and beat Nyla Rose, and try to beat the shit out of Britt Baker. No, it's still Serena Deeb. I think that's NWA Women's Champion. So her first match was against Layla Hurst, and this is just one of those chicks that they sort of wrestlers that they have, and technically wrestle nearly on most of the Dynamites just to job out. The tournament looks garbage. Like you only know like a part of the AEW female roster. No semblance of storytelling there. The only thing is I want like Thunder Rosa to choke. I mean Thunder Rosa to win, cause she's the only hot cool chick that can literally hold her own, and I can actually take her seriously as a women's champion. The match was okay, decent selling over in the ground game, but decent body scissors to cut off the speed of Thunder Rosa. She gets the win anyway. The match was okay. A big avoiding of a moonsault and picks up the advantage of her finishing move. She goes up to the next round. All right off the body slams. Just decent ground game. It's just that Hirsch got no personality, like at all. Like no semblance of over a look or character we can put her upon. So she's just coming around, just jobbing out to most of these women over the roster. And no way AEW is doing this to themselves when like who is available? I think Tessa Blanchard, and they're not trying to pick up over actual star power for the women's division. They think of making a separate show because of the complaints over what the time management with the women matches. And by God, like, no, it shouldn't be a different show. Look at 205 Live when people went to the cruiserweights to be relevant again. You can't make a separate show that'll make too additional content of too much people already watching Dark, BTE, like too much garbage to put their handle on so they can get like revolted around with the content. If I were you, just make interesting female storylines. If you want let Hikaru Shida drop the belt or something. Yeah, this is already like your second tournament in a row. And I think the only notoriety you had in the female tag team tournament was that one Funkadactyl was there. Nobody, Diamante had even released one. And Diamante wasn't even part of the company. We also had Miro like sexually assaulting Chucky, blames the failure of the wedding off Orange Cassidy, and challenged him over I think at Revolution. We also had Sting in a hot pursuit, or a great walking distance of hot pursuit for Sting's terrible knees to try to contest with literally the Team Taz group hoisting the TNT champion Darby Allin in the body bag while driving. while dragging his body in the body bag, probably still with thumbtacks in it. I don't know. I think Darby would be comfortable with that because he looks like he tried to kill himself in several accounts in CZW. Some crap. Has Jesus Christ, this match better not be garbage. Like you better like save Sting of looking like an old, brittled, immobile chunk of anything. If you want, just like why can't just Cody like he wrestles more than making his own making matches for the show to actually be entertaining. So why not just with your guidance, with your legitimacy, we could we can actually make the show bigger than how it is with just all four of us running it. So they just give it to Sting to be the authority maker in the show, so he doesn't have to wrestle. Like no one's gonna rely over Sting to do this in a consistent or part-time sense, over his current health risks. Like TNA did it when he was still like he wrestled a little bit, but they gave him more of an authoritarian role, and people still pop because it's still Sting. It's Sting. He like Tony Giovanni says that in such a suicidal manner. We also had Hangman Adam Page switching over a partnership contract with Matt Hardy. It's probably going to be something due to like the private party, or it's going to be something over, I guess, like who owns who, because he switched up a contract in his jacket and probably had his own thing in mind. Matt Hardy couldn't even try to notice. Oh wait, this wording's a bit different. Did you swap the contracts? Like, don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know why Hangman isn't trying to make a character over for himself. He's just like a more indie James Storm with no connection to the crowd, no over moves, and just flips. Like, I don't even know that much of a prioritizing, like, reason to keep him as a tag team partner, other than he just does a running shooting star press really nicely and a stupid slingshot lariat. Yet he still can't beat guys like Kenny Omega or most of the mid card unless he has to do a random match. Like, there's no storylines you can do over with Hangman Adam Page after you literally had him getting screwed by the Elite. And yet no focus has been dropped into this, but people want to take it like it's a freaking dream match for any of these Elite matches, and nobody cares. We also had, of course, Kenta tagging with Kenny Omega against Jon Moxley and Lance Archer in a Falls Count Anywhere tag team match. Kenny Omega was over in the golf course. Oh, did I get that eagle? I don't need to study upon it. I already been doing. Look at my resume. I'm already better than Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, die. Sorry, that's just my opinion. I don't mind if you're a world champion and try to hype yourself over legitimate accomplishments in the wrestling world. I get it, but Jesus Christ, it's as sad as like those times back in WCW when Hulk Hogan and the Nasty Boys and like won Wrestling Illustrated awards and they aired it live over on WCW. Like, I'm supposed to actually care. Like, this is actually important. So the match was fun. I'll give it that. Cool trash can spots. There was a part when Lance Archer was tossing over the ladder. There were suplexes outside. Double drop kick over Kenny Omega. Peter Avalon's bed was suplexed on. Even though they were supposed to do the go to sleep, they didn't do the spot like that because I guess they still wanted to try to make Lance Archer not look like a joke. This was taken over back in the kitchen. Backstage. There's a running double stomp with Kenta still looking like a fat weeaboo. Moxley then hits, I think, a paradigm shift on the outside near the kitchen. They win with a sack of potatoes dropped on Kenta, and Moxley and Kenta beat. No, I'm kidding. Kenny Omega hits a one-winged angel on Lance Archer with the assistance of the Good Brothers after a reversal over a choke slam and a cutter with of course Jake the Snake Roberts hitting a clothesline and then dying in the ring after one uppercut off Lance against Luke Gallows. I'm sorry, Doc Gallows. I don't know if he still gets that name trademark after like what is like fourth stint with the WWE. Like WWE got to stop hiring this dude or just making asbestos again. And it ends with the Bullet Club winning. I guess Kenta's part of the actual Bullet Club. Other than that, that's practically the match. Omega, Kenta, and the rest of the team is in full effect. Nobody comes to assault them. We fade to black with at least the heels looking on top. Kenny Omega, the assistants, made a bit sense on ultimate willpower. Even though he'll just break his neck if he tries to lift a 300-pound man by himself. Other than that, pretty okay match. Fun, cool spots, hardcore. They were taking it everywhere around the arena. Match was looking violent. Didn't mind it, but it's still not going to make Kenny look legit. I don't care if they try to do a rematch come Revolution. If they do, please drop the belt, Kenny. You are not going to make this stint as world champion fun to watch consistently, especially when you're not even the primordial focus of conversation when they talk about AEW. So if I were you, I would just drop the belt. I know Moxley's probably going to leave AEW because he knows where the real money is at. And, yeah, that's practically it. That's a review. AEW was not good, but not bad. Over a standpoint, it's like a consistent, like at least 6 out of 10. And over just the irrelevant squash matches and just tag team matches, we're gonna have like at least 3 booked tag team matches in a 2-hour show, and one's gonna be like a 3-way, 4-way, triple threat tag team match. Yeah, like try to make one-on-one matches like the stint of your storylines, folks. I'm ready as like tethered with the booking of like what's gonna happen at Revolution after I heard it's getting pushed back come early March. And then I have to hear about frickin' the Young Bucks already challenging the Good Brothers in a tag team match. They're probably gonna do some finger poke of doom crap. So that's all I got for this episode. Hopefully it gets a bit better next week. Average show, really decent main event. Other than that, I just feel like they did nothing to make this memorable. Heard this is at least better than what NXT was doing because they garner, I think, the lowest amount of viewership in the most recent episode. So, and I heard that I think the most that it was the most boring out of what we had just last night for Dynamite. So, I think take what you will, but I think many people will garner watching Dynamite than AEW. I mean NXT. So that's all I got.